Welcome to From Leads to Leases, a CCR Growth podcast that helps senior living providers transform their complex challenges into opportunities. Listen in for stories from industry leaders, innovative strategies, and insights. And with our expertise, learn how to increase occupancy faster, guaranteed.
Welcome back to another episode of From Leads to Leases, the podcast where we dive deep into the senior living industry, offering insights, strategies, and stories from the experts at the forefront. I'm your host, Jerry Vinci, CEO of CCR Growth, here to guide you through the evolving landscape of connecting communities with the families and residents that they serve. So today we have a special guest, Alex Atiyeh, who is an activities and volunteer coordinator at Sunrise Senior Living of North Wales. Possibly our youngest guest yet. We need a little energy on this show, so I'm super excited about this episode. And he's got a degree in media communication, minors in journalism and theater studies. So Alex brings creativity and energy into this role, where he focuses on enhancing the daily lives of residents through activities and meaningful interactions. In today's episode, we'll explore how Alex transitioned into senior living, his approach to balancing quality and resources, and how he builds trust with residents, even those with cognitive decline. So welcome to the show, Alex. I'm really glad to have you on today.
Thanks for having me, Jerry. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. So I think our audience is going to have a lot to learn. So I always like to start with background because everybody's got such a unique and interesting story of how they got started in senior living. So you started out as a dining server in senior living, and now you're an activities coordinator. So what drew you to the senior living industry, and how has that role evolved over time?
Yeah, so in high school, I was in choir. We did some caroling during the holidays, and we'd go to like hospitals or senior living homes. And my buddies were working there as like dining servers, and they're like, yo, like just ask her to like, you'd be great with activities, like ask her to, send in an application. I was like, okay, so I did. And I was too young, I guess, or I needed a high school diploma to do activities. So I started in dining services. And then once I started activities, I was like, yeah, I want to stick with activities and not be in dining services. But yeah, it was great. Like I just really got to develop not only as a person in the workforce, but just as a person. I find that working in senior living is just a great place to learn because you're with all these people who had their whole lives and they have wisdom that you don't, especially me as I'm 24, but back then I was 18. So, I don't know. It's definitely, it was always a challenge, but I enjoyed doing it. Like it didn't come across as work to me. So when I left that place to go to a different place to follow my old boss, it was a great time. And then sadly the pandemic hit and I recently, about a year, I've been at this place for a year, Sunrise of North Wales, and now I'm the coordinator. Didn't think that was going to be a thing. And
just kind of fell
here we
into
are.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's a challenge, but I'm grateful for it. And I love what I do. It's so much fun. Like it doesn't really come across as work. It's like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my friends for a day,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm 45. And if you told me 20 years ago that I was going to be hosting a podcast talking about senior living, I would have been like, no way. That's not going to be something that I'm going to be doing. But here we are. So it's interesting where career paths go. So I know when we talked last time too, you said that this wasn't your first career choice after graduating. So what made you decide to stay in senior living industry, and how has it shaped your career goals moving forward?
Yeah. So I wanted to do like social media positions. Got one. It just wasn't working out at the end of the day. So I was working with my dad, and then I was just applying, and I found this position to be an assistant. And I was like, oh, it's like 20 minutes from my place. Let's just do it. We have something, whatever. Interviewed. I was like, wow, this place is great, exciting. Got the job. And I was like, all right, cool, yeah. And then I remember first like couple weeks, my boss was like, yeah, like you might take over my position in 3 months. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then she got promoted and she left. And I was like, wait, are you serious?
She wasn't kidding.
They were like, do you want this job? I'm like, I'm not going to say no, but like, I'm 24, like it didn't, it was a challenge for me to kind of just be thrown. Everybody said, dude, you were just thrown into the wolves with this position. And I agree. I was just kind of like, all right, we're going to throw you in here. We're going to help you and learn the way. But yeah, like I didn't expect it. It wasn't something that I desired, but not something that I was going to deny right off the rip. Like it was definitely intriguing. And honestly, I'm grateful that I decided to keep it or take the opportunity and stick with it a year later. Future wise, like I don't really know, like I said, I'm 24 and people always say, your first job is out of college isn't always going to be, your forever job. You're going to change jobs. I hate change though. So, leaving jobs and being like, hey, like I'm going here because I found something else. Like, I don't know. It just, obviously that's tough for anybody, no matter what position or industry you're in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm grateful I'm here now,
Yeah. That makes total sense. And I think the senior living industry in general, it is most successful when people stay within, not necessarily in the same job, but I know that like places that have a lot of staff turnover, for example, they struggle to keep residents, they struggle, to keep their staff happy. Like there's all sorts of things that happen. So if you're staying put and you're happy and you're someone who doesn't like change very often, like this could be a good industry for you for sure.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. But I know it similarly to you. When I started my agency 20 years ago, but before that, I was an art director for a corporate communications company.
Right.
I hated it. But one of the things that I hated more than anything was the fact that I was so young and I was working with people who were older than me, not in a senior living sense, but I had managers who were 10 years older than me, and I had people in my department that I was managing who were 10 years older than me. And so like they were all like, who the hell is this kid? Who does he think he is? Why is he even in this position? And like they didn't know about my experience in history. Like I grew up in a print shop, right? Like my parents own a print shop since 1978, so I was running a printing press in middle school. So like I had all this like advertising and marketing experience that no one knew about. They just saw like this young kid and they didn't really give me the time of day because of it. So I'm curious, like in your position, I know being in a senior living community, there's probably a lot more support than I got, but do you find that being so young in the position you're in presents challenges?
Yes and no. I think the challenges came like internally. That was always my biggest like fear when they asked me to take this on. I was like, okay, you guys are like 30, 40, have done this for a couple years. You've been around the ropes.
Yeah.
Like this is my first, to me, it came across as like my first official like job.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I'm going to be head of a department of a building. I learned how to do a budget. I'm still learning. It's pretty bad, to be honest. But you have to learn how to do the budget, like drive the bus. And I was like, I just want to like play games with these people. Like, I don't want to do all this stuff.
Yeah. You even got like a commercial driver's license, right?
Yep. CDL, everything. Like I drove the bus today, all in. And again, it was just an internal challenge. I didn't have confidence in myself.
Yeah.
And I took it as like, oh, these people are going to see me as young. Like, why is he doing this? Why did he get promoted so fast kind of thing? But I've learned like, as long as you like help people out in the industry and you just show respect and kindness, like there's nothing to worry about, I don't toot my own horn because I got this position. I continue to work hard. I admit when I make mistakes. I'm still learning. Like I've been in this position for a year and I'm still going to learn, if I'm in it for 6 more months or 6 more years, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was definitely a challenge. I still see it as a challenge every now and then, just confidence wise. But as long as you're doing your job and you're open to helping out, open to taking suggestions and criticism, like there really shouldn't be a problem based on age.
That's great to hear you say that. I think imposter syndrome is real for everyone, but I think the
Oh
younger
yeah.
you are, the more difficult it is
Hmm.
to overcome that, because you have these voices in your head that are telling you
Yes.
one thing, even if the external world isn't saying any of it. It's like you're
Yeah.
feeling that pretty
Hmm.
hardcore. So that's really great that you have that mindset. You're so open and willing to learn.
I try to
Um,
be.
yeah. So in terms of planning activities, what is your process? How do you balance the interests of different residents to ensure everyone feels included?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. That's something I'm still learning. Basically, what I mean, we're already like almost halfway through September, which is insane enough. I actually started working on October like in August. I think I
Hmm.
finished September. I sent it out to get printed. I was like, you know what, might as well just start like putting on the birthdays, putting on the holidays, like whatever, trips. Yeah, we have this program called Smile. It's where you can check in the residents so the family members can see. You can message the family members pictures, all this jazz, all the great things. But it's where I can like create the calendar, the daily sheets we have, so that they have it. Um, yeah, I'll try and do that at least halfway through the previous month. So like I said, like I'll probably double check with October next week. I'm actually manager on duty this weekend, so I'll try and do it when I'm there and I'm not really doing anything.
Hmm.
Um, but it takes a while because we have these end of the month meetings and they tell me, oh, we like this activity or we want to do more of this. So when are we going to bring back this? And when you have 40 residents, it's tough to please everybody. I was a big people pleaser,
Hmm.
and that is just not realistic in a senior living home. You're not going to please everybody.
40 different personalities. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult.
So that is something I've learned to change within myself, and have open conversations with the residents about it. Like, hey, there'd be some that say we don't have enough activities. And I'm like, listen, I do like 4 to 5, 6 activities a day. I'm a one-man guy, like one-man team for the most part. Um, just because you don't come to the activities because you don't like them doesn't mean we don't have activities going on. So it's been a working battle on both sides, just to like for them to understand what I'm trying to do on my own for the most part. Like I do have a team, but also in my part, like, okay, how can I take these opinions, their suggestions, and incorporate it into the calendar, so it's not just them coming, but like, all right, let's get a group of people, because my community seems to be like, it's either there's people there and we're doing it, or if there's 2 people, then they're like, don't do it. I'm like, what?
We could
Um,
still do it even with two
I always
people.
tell them, like, you're the only one that exercise. Like, I'll join you. Let's go.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I literally just got a suggestion box today. We went to the dollar store, and I got like a little cardboard box. I'm gonna say, put your suggestions in this. I'll check it weekly. I can. I don't. I always say the calendar is a template. It's not set in stone. Things will change. So if you give me a suggestion, I'm like, I'll throw that in next Thursday. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a
That's,
very go with the flow kind of thing. Creating this calendar.
yeah. Always asking for feedback, I think, is good. Do you guys have like a resident committee too? That, like, I know a lot of communities, they'll have a group of, senior level people who kind of like
Yeah.
represent the community as a whole, and they'll say, hey, we want this or we don't want this.
Yes and no. So like we do have the resident council meeting, as I said, which is
Hmm.
like, if you want to come, great. I always encourage them to come. Usually we get like 15 to like 18 people. But also not all 40 of the personal care residents come to activities. Some people stay
Yeah.
in the rooms and stuff, but we do have 2 residents that help when we get new residents come in, and they'll like show them around, introduce them to other people, kind of like tour the place, like encourage them to come to activities.
You had mentioned too in our previous discussion about music and that being an important part of your role, especially with the regular entertainers coming in. So how do
Oh
you
yeah.
see music and other creative activities impact residents' well-being?
music is just, I feel like no matter what community you're at, music always plays like a huge role with senior living. I mean, we have weekly entertainment. I schedule them every Tuesday afternoon. And like that is always our biggest, like activity. We always have 30 plus, like including memory care. Like we bring down memory care residents, have them come, sit down with PC, because we're trying to get them like intertwined more, and just kind of break that barrier. Even when sometimes the entertainment might not be majority favorite. There's always one that's like, oh, like I loved it. I thought it was great. Like he did this, and they get so like into it, they'll describe it. And I usually don't sit with them. Like that's usually like, all right, you have an hour of entertainment. I'm going to go get the calendar done. But there was one time we had a guy with like an electric cello, and I thought like he didn't sing. And my residents love singing. Like if the guy sings and plays an instrument, great. But this guy like just played the cello. And I thought to myself, oh God, like we're going to have walkers. Like
there's going to be a mutiny on our hands.
Like you're just going to see a line of residents walking out that room. And I was like, it was like the most captivating music that I've heard personally. But like just seeing them sit and just like, they looked so engaged, like weren't sleeping, which is usually the case for some of them. Even when I'm singing, it's great. But, like sometimes they don't like change, but like if you give them something new and they take the time to listen, like, oh my God, they thought that was like one of the most beautiful performances ever. And I was like, wow, I was really just ready for you to hate on that and whatnot, just by how beautiful it was. But no, it really just brings them back. And especially like memory care residents, I love seeing them like mouth the words to songs or like sing it, because it's just like it's just very different compared to personal care residents. So seeing them like feel calm and just like engage with the activity, like it just warms my heart, especially when I'm singing with them. Like the one guy was like, sing God Bless America, and I'm like, all right, like so I put it up. I used the karaoke thing, and there he is singing away, and I'm just like, all right, man, like that's great. So yeah, just overall, like music is huge for senior living.
I was going to ask if you were a musician yourself.
I do just sing. I dabble with the ukulele. I mean, when we get entertainers, they bring guitars, all that jazz, like speakers. I literally just go on my YouTube account, like, all right, here's the playlist I made. And I say, sing along with me. And I just have like the karaoke like tracks on there, but they sing with me. And
it's almost like a spiritual experience for people sometimes. And I think like in senior living, especially, and memory care even more so, because people are tapping into a part of their brain that, some people just assume went away, but it's actually still there.
It's still there.
And they're subconscious. So that's pretty awesome that you're able to do that. And it's funny you use the word engagement, because that was going to be my next question to you, was just engagement as a selling point. So from a sales and marketing perspective, how do you think the activities and engagement opportunities you offer can be a key selling point when families are considering senior living communities for their loved ones?
Oh, dude, it's huge. The amount of times that, the sales director would be like, hey, what do we got going on at like 3:00 today? I'm like, oh, that's social. Or we're playing bingo at this time, like bring them up to the room. It's huge for the families touring to see what you do at your community with activities, or what you just have to offer like independently too. When people come into my, I say office, but I'm literally the activity room. So like there's all these like games on the floor and stuff. But
a big toy box.
Yeah, like literally I'll tell the tour, like the people touring, like we have a whole thing of puzzles. I say, if your mom or dad, they love puzzles, take puzzles. We have tons of deck of cards. We have board games. We have cornhole in here, bocce ball. Like literally come in here, use this room whenever you want. Take stuff, bring it back, like use it. Like I buy this stuff so you guys can use it and, feel like you have something even when I'm not here or the rest of my activity team isn't here, which is obviously easier said than done. Some people just need that push. They need somebody to lead it. Maybe other communities aren't like that. I've never had an experience like that with somewhere I worked at in senior living, but yeah, it's definitely huge. I had somebody who's still with us. She came to our community, and I had to give her the tour because I think I was manager on duty that weekend. And she came to us because at the place she was at, like, she was just in her room and they didn't have activities. So I was like, yeah, here, I print out extra calendars so they can take it home with them and see what we do, like, on a monthly basis. And I showed her, I was like, listen, if there's stuff you like to do, like, tell me and I will try and put it on the calendar. She joined us for like bingo on the tour. I was like, hey, this is so and so. She's on a tour today. She's new. Like, they were all so welcoming. And I remember, like, that was just so great for her. And like the daughter's like, thank you for doing that. Like, it's just great to see them engage. So, like, huge selling point. I'm not saying it's like the most important, but like, it's up there.
That's a great first impression, though, if people can see that interactivity and that welcoming atmosphere. So that's a win-win for sure. And then have you seen instances where residents who might have considered leaving changed their minds due to like the quality of experience in your activities? How do you think what you do impacts retention rates?
Like them just staying in general?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, huge. I mean, it's super important that, if they're engaged and they're having fun and our biggest thing is like anticipation. They love looking forward to me singing. I swear every day somebody's like, when are you singing again? I'm like, I'm like, all right, I'll do it today. Like, whatever. But, they look forward to lunch trips. Somebody's like, when are we going on like the lunch trip? Like, he always wants to go on a lunch trip. I'm like, I got you, man. Don't worry. We'll go this week. Like if they're looking forward to it and you got them in a good place and they're looking forward to doing something that you're offering, you want to keep that. Like, it's so important to keep residents in your community.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. I think, people, especially transitioning into senior living for the first time, it's a totally different, unique experience, and I think people want to feel like there's some sense of like familiarity with what they're doing now versus, the life they had before they were in a community setting.
That's a tough part. Yeah.
And I think it's almost a breath of fresh air because the rate of like, not the rate of loneliness, but there's like a loneliness and lack of socialization epidemic in this country where the older we get, the less time we spend around other people. There was a statistic that said something like at the age of 65, we spend over 2 hours a day alone. And by the age of 80, it's like over 6 hours a day alone for the average person. So, and usually that's because someone loses a spouse or a partner or other family passes away, but still, like, just to think like if you were at that age and you were spending that much time out of the day by yourself, like that's pretty lonely. So the fact that you're able to create this welcoming, warm environment for people to enjoy time together is great.
You just kind of like blew my mind with that stat right there. I got to start rethinking how much alone time I want with myself now. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. It's definitely important for them.
Yeah.
But I always say I never want to like force them out of their room. Before I would go like knocking on their doors at the other places, and this place, it's kind of like the schedule is everywhere. If you want to go or if you run into me, I'll be like, hey, 2:00, like come here. It's great because like I get the people that want to be there. Definitely, I love it. It's definitely important just for mental health in general.
I think so. Age. It's funny too because I think we go through phases in life where at some point we're all we want is like time by ourselves because we're around other people all the time. You're like, I just wish I could be alone.
Preach.
And then like I'm now at the age where like I'm seeing my circle of like family and friends like go like every couple of years it gets smaller and smaller. So I'm like, damn, like I completely understand what that would feel like at 65 or at 80 to be spending that much time alone and how isolating that can feel. So like I know for me, I'm kind of like looking forward to some kind of a lifestyle community when the time comes, as long as I'm around other people who have similar interests, why not?
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. That's a good way to look at it.
So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the challenges in senior living overall. You've shared that transparency is important to you, even when it's difficult. Is there a specific time that you can think about when maybe being honest with a resident's family was challenging but necessary? Even in your role, I imagine you
Ooh.
come across that quite a bit.
I don't necessarily have those kind of conversations with the family members, which kind of shocks me now that I'm thinking about it. Usually it's with the residents that I have those like hard kind of conversation with, but there's a lot of different things that can go wrong in any senior living home. And it's very easy to like hold on to those negative things, whether you're the worker, the resident, the family member, like whatever. I will do my best to find the person or find the solution to whatever you're looking for.
That's a great
Yeah.
answer, and I can actually pivot from that and ask you the
Sure.
next question, because
Yeah.
just talking about taking on tasks outside your official role, how do you
I'm a
balance
king.
that? How do you go the extra mile for residents while also avoiding burnout?
Jeez, man, that's a
Or
real
or is
question.
it just a necessary part of the job?
Dude,
right?
I serve lunch once a week downstairs for the residents because coordinators are supposed to have a day. And
Yeah.
I picked that up. Day one, I became a coordinator. I was like, oh, like nobody told me. I just saw a list and I was like, okay, that's my day to serve. Like I said, I drive the bus. When we didn't have a maintenance coordinator, I was like the only main guy to drive the bus. So I would take people to doctor's appointments. And they were like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because if I don't take them, who's going to take them? Like, you offer
Yeah.
this service for us to take them to appointments, and they had this plan. Like, yeah, I'm going to postpone whatever activity I have, and I'm going to take this person to their cardiology appointment because that sounds important, you know? Like, listen, I can go on and on. Like, I'm going to go down for an hour talking about this, but at the end of the day, you just got to like stick up for yourself, and you got to be honest, not only with them, but with yourself, and be like, hey, this is too much. Like, I'm taking on too much. I'm going to step back and, take one thing off my plate and like maybe try and get somebody else to do it, or delegate, help, like get somebody to do that for you so you can focus on doing something else. And
That's great. I think that's a kind of an important lesson too, that my son's therapist actually brought this idea to our attention. She was like, you have boundaries, which are the lines that people just can't cross. Like those are absolutes, right? But then you also have limits, and limits can fluctuate. So like you can start creeping up towards where your limit is, but you can identify that ahead of time and then kind of like back down. So I think this is one of those instances where like you recognize that you were hitting your max and you needed to kind of like reset, right?
Yeah.
So that's good that you were able to advocate for yourself. And
it's just in any industry, not even in any industry, just in life. It's so important to advocate for yourself and your mental health.
Back to kind of like building connections with residents. So building trust with residents, especially those with cognitive decline, it's obviously challenging. How do you approach building rapport with those residents and ensuring they feel safe and they feel seen and they feel valued?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, like they're like my friends. I always think of it as I'm going into their home to do work. I don't see them as clients. I don't see them as they're paying me. I'm just going over to hang out 8 hours a day. And with that attitude, like I just talk with them like it's nothing. Like if they're coming to me, I always say, come to my office, rant, whatever you got to do. I'm just very relaxed around them and like just very open. This one resident, she keeps telling me recently, she's like, I'm so glad you can interact with me this way. I'm like, girl, if it was a year ago, like I'd be running the other way. I said that to her today. I'm like, you, like I've learned to like how you act. And she's like, no, but I love that because it means you care about me as a person. And I'm like, yeah, obviously. Like I said, I'm like, yeah, it's my job, but you're a human being. And I'm not going to treat you differently because I'm getting paid to be here. It's a different industry when it comes to that stuff, you know?
I think that's great though, because we were recently at a wedding and there was an older woman there who was probably in her late 70s. And my wife has worked in a couple of senior living communities.
Yeah.
And she was just, they were shooting the shit. They were, throwing zingers back and forth. And she was just like, she's like, she was so happy that she was being treated that way, that like it was, more of like a friendship level than like, her being treated like she was infirmed or that she was, less than just because she was an older woman, right? Like she still had her faculties about her. She was throwing them out just as quickly as she was getting them. Like it was fun. It was fun to watch them interact. So I totally get that.
Yeah, 100. Oh, that's so great to hear that.
So from a sales perspective, what do you think more sales reps could do in terms of like getting on board with activities and using that as a selling point? So how can they use that information to personalize tours and the interactions with prospective residents and their families?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell like our sales team, if you got tours and we have our morning meetings, like you let me know, like I'll say like, hey, this is what I got planned today. Or if you know you got like a big tour coming in like a few weeks down the road and you know it's important and you want me to do something like a little extra special, sure. Like if you give me the extra like notice about it, I will gladly put something together for it. But also just like talking with your activity coordinator or activity team, whatever your mom or dad like likes to do, you tell me and I will do my best to like incorporate that into the schedule, because you know you'd be surprised like what can get people out of their rooms to do something. But yeah, I just think communicating with one another about that and not last minute kind of like, hey, I have a tour like in 10 minutes. What can you do? I'm like, nah, like I always say like my residents
let's gather everybody
first.
up real quick for an activity. Yeah. Make it look like we're having fun.
Exactly. If it's movie afternoon, it's movie afternoon. Like they got their snacks, like whatever.
Yeah. People love their routines. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What advice would you give to other young professionals considering our career in senior living, especially a role that's focused on resident engagement?
Yeah, man. I mean, like straight up, like if I were to be blunt, if it's just something you're looking to get a paycheck for, go work somewhere else, man. I was taught growing up to work hard for what you want. And, you know, this job isn't easy. Whether you're a care manager, sales, like I don't care what position you hold. Senior living industry is not an easy 9-to-5 job, especially if you're a care manager. You got to do doubles or night shift. But if you're a people person, like we said earlier, you just kind of make sure the residents are heard. They feel like they're seen. Even the memory care, because they know. Like I feel like there's a stigma that memory care residents don't remember things or they don't know, but like they do.
Oh no, they'll sniff you out in a heartbeat.
Yeah, like they will undermine you. It's so important to know that your job is involving other people's lives. When I just see people coming in, I'm like, why are you here? I'm like, why did you apply for this job? Because you clearly don't want to be here. But like your job involves like taking care of other people and like keeping their dignity or getting them dressed. Like have some empathy, because like if that was my mom or my dad like in that building, like you know that you're making a difference. Like it pays off in the end. The amount of times that family members come up and they're like, just had one of the residents' daughters come up to me yesterday. They were like, oh, we heard you were out, like, are you okay? And like, yeah. And she was like, I just know like you enrich their lives, like you coming in there. And even when I'm just like on the break, it's stuff like that that makes me feel appreciated and know I'm doing the work and it's being seen. And it's making an impact. So I think like if you work hard in this industry, you will get the recognition and the rewards.
That, I mean, hearing those words, I'm sure is like the most powerful thing and the biggest motivator to know that you've made the difference in someone else's, even just one person's life, but you're touching all of these people. That's like that, you know? Yeah.
As if it's one person, even if one day, I'm like, if I can make one person happy today, that's fine with me.
One of my previous guests too said that, like, you know, she treats every day like this could potentially be the last day that she spends with this person, because it might be, you know, which is hard to accept. But at the same time, like if you approach it that way, then like you can't help but have appreciation and respect for the job and the importance of it, right?
Dude, I don't think I've had that kind of experience yet where someone that I've, comes to an activity every day and like, it's their last. I've had like people in the building that don't really come out as much, or whatnot, and then they pass away, or I'm gone one weekend. I'm like, wait, what? Even when it's like a resident you don't know and you hear that, you're like it sucks. It just sucks. You know?
Yeah,
it's
the
tough.
humanity of it. And you're reminded though of how important the job you're doing is. So it's
100%.
Yeah, it's both sad, but also extremely illuminating and puts a positive spin on the importance of the role that we play in this industry. So
yeah,
absolutely,
man.
Alex, so how can our audience stay connected with you and follow your journey in senior living? Because I feel like you've got a long history ahead of you.
Oh yeah. I mean, I do post sometimes like on Instagram or I kind of want to do like TikToks. I make TikToks, but like I always see like everybody sends me like senior living TikToks, and I'm like, some
of them are so funny,
so good, funny, so good.
Retirement house is like my favorite page. I could watch that all day.
But yeah, I mean, like if you want to follow me like on Instagram or even YouTube, I make YouTube videos, and sometimes like I talk about this. I'm trying to get back into that. I took a break. You just search up my name and I'm sure I'll pop up. I don't mean that as a brag, but like sometimes I do that and it just happens. I'm like, oh, I'm still there. But
I can add all your links in the show notes too. So there's any social pages in particular you want me to add, I'll throw the notes up there so people can find you.
Yeah, just do I say it or like
you can. That's fine.
Yeah. Pretty much just Alex J Atiyeh for Instagram. And just Alex Atiyeh for YouTube, and Your Friend Al for like anything else like TikTok.
That's fun. I like that.
Your Friend Al.
That's a cool
that's my
name.
thing. That's my in YouTube. I'm like, what's up, everybody? It's your friend Al here, and my friends at college would be like, your friend Al. I'm like, this guy. So yeah,
I love that. Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for such a great conversation. I really appreciate having you on today. So,
dude, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This was so much fun.
Yeah,
this is great.
This is great. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Alex Atiyeh for joining us, our friend Al here, for sharing his passion for working with seniors, his approach to resident engagement, transparency, and going above and beyond for the residents at Sunrise. It's truly inspiring. So thank you. So if you want to stay connected with Alex and learn more about his work, be sure to follow him on social media. I'll make sure to include all of those links in our show notes. And you can also follow him on LinkedIn. And as always, we hope you found this episode insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore the dynamic world of senior living marketing and sales. And also remember that From Leads to Leases isn't just an audio experience. We're also a video podcast. So if you want to see the video versions of our episodes like the one here with Alex, make sure to subscribe to either our YouTube or our Spotify channels. I'm Jerry Vincey, CEO of CCR Growth, thanking you for joining us on From Leads to Leases, where we're giving you all of these great senior living industry insights for free and asking nothing in return other than for you to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who might find it useful. I thank you so much for your time and attention. Until next time, lead with strategy and with heart, and I'll chat with you again soon. Thanks again, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to From Leads to Leases. Are you ready to fill your rooms faster and increase occupancy? Visit ccrgrowth.com to learn about our Senior Growth Innovation Suite, a proven system to generate highly qualified, tour-ready leads, accelerate sales, and reduce acquisition costs. Let's connect and turn your challenges into opportunities. See you next time.